welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center, a resource center located in Naperville for people in career transition. If you're unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, this show is for you. Career Center will bring human resource professionals and other experts together to provide job search tips to assist you as you search for your next success. Today, I'm happy to have with us Maureen Keene. Maureen, before starting her own consulting company, Keene Communication, she spent 16 years with IBM Corporation selling, managing, recruiting, and training. Maureen, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Kimberly.
Thank you. So, Maureen, tell me a little bit about Keene Communication. What is it that you do?
So, Keene Communication is a consulting firm where I spend a lot of my time, I'd say, half of it in academia because I teach at two universities, Benedictine University, Lewis University, and then the other half I like to say I spend in the real world, working with customers and clients, right. Doing things like leadership development, executive coaching, and I primarily focus on the areas of communication and leadership development.
Okay. All right, so and I know you also do a lot of work with millennials and job transition. I want to start off by just asking you, what is the number one piece of advice you have for those in job search?
So whether you are a millennial or someone that's looking for, a transition in career, trying to figure out if maybe you would fit better, be more successful, get more energy someplace else. So a lot of the advice is similar. I think that first of all, you should do research, and we know that. Which means you should not only know about the company and the industry that you're going into, but literally maybe the people that you're interviewing with. And today, with all the technology that's available, you can pretty much figure that out. It's not like stalking, but it's actually discovering, and we should do research. And then another very important R, I would say, is that you should role play. So I like to call it real play, and role play is actually preparing for the interview and doing it with somebody that will give you good, honest feedback.
So like mock interviewing, if you will. Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and so when you mentioned earlier about making sure you know who you're going to interview with, it's important to do that because oftentimes an employer will say they didn't, do the things they needed to do to prepare. And to know about the company or about the people you're going to meet with.
And it's very competitive today, as you know, and so I really think that you kind of have to look at the opportunity as the potential job, interviewer could be looking for a reason to discount you versus looking for a reason to keep you. So you don't want that you don't want to let that happen. It's very easy to do research, and I really think that I believe in the 6 degrees of separation, and I believe that we really do have connections to really everybody that we meet. We're different, but I'm going to suggest that if you look, you can find a similarity. And thus, if you do a little bit of research, even if it's walking in and looking around the office, and you find out this person, they like to ski, fish, snowboard, whatever it might be, they have a dog. I think you can make a connection there, and it makes it more memorable. You start to build the foundation for a relationship.
So where are some of the places that you would look? LinkedIn, for instance?
Yep, so that's a perfect place to start. Everybody that's in business today really should have their LinkedIn profile up to date. That means 100% complete. A professional photograph, or with the cameras today, you can have somebody who's even an amateur photographer take a great photo of you. And it should be a professional looking photo, maybe, head and shoulders or in a professional setting.
Not at the beach or,
not at the beach, not with a pina colada in hand, that's later. But I think that you should also, so no avatars either. And then you need to go in and make sure that it's updated, that it's updated regularly. And I suggest that you join groups that are relevant to your interests, to your subject matter expertise, into the industry that you want to go into, because that creates, again, relationships online.
More networking.
Absolutely. Yes. So LinkedIn is the first place. Yes.
So once they've done that, now they're getting ready for this interview. What's your suggestion on making sure that they're ready to go? Their skills, they're, speaking in front of people.
So here again, part of the research is visit the website, of course, in some detail. Visit the website, if there are press releases, which typically there are on there, you can read about those press releases. If you know somebody who works at the company, talk to that person, find out more about the company, the organizational culture. Again, today we can find out so much just by doing Google searches.
Right.
And so do that research, and even visiting the website, then that gives you some idea about the people that work there, maybe how they dress. And that's an important part of preparing for an interview.
Yeah, you actually mentioned that. You talk about dress for the job, dress for success, or dress for yourself. What do you mean by that?
So I think you really need to consider all of those things. And so when you're going into an interview, appearance is paramount. It really is. So it's part of nonverbal communication, and it's suggested that nonverbal communication is 93% of the message. And so people form an impression of you in less than 4 minutes, even if you don't get a chance to talk. So what they're doing is they're doing it based upon your appearance. So you have to think about, what's the appearance that I want to create? Is it an entry-level job? I'm not going to suggest you go in and answer that question from years ago saying, so where do you want to be in 5 years? Never say I want your job. Don't do that, because it's probably going to alienate. But you want to dress appropriately for the level of the position that you're looking for. You want to think about and know, is it casual? Is it more professional? And you can even do things like think about the colors that you're wearing. If it's for a company that certain colors are part of their brand or theme, I'm going to suggest maybe bring a little of that with you somehow and incorporate it into your apparel. I will say this, if you are, so let's say you've recently graduated from college, you might have spent $100,000 on your tuition. And so I'm going to suggest you need to go out and invest some money in a really good interview outfit.
So what do you recommend suits no matter what for men, women?
It varies very much
depending on the position.
Yes, it really does. And so I think if you're going into an interview, for a professional, if you're an attorney, probably even in many business or administration, you're probably going to dress up a little bit more. I will mention to you that on one of my websites, we actually have photos of suggested outfits that you can wear, whether you're male or female. And so today a male might get by with a sport jacket or simply a collared shirt. Female today might get by with not suits so much, really, but more maybe a sweater, or something a little bit more business casual.
Before we finish up, I want to just have you touch base real quick on analyzing your 360 feedback. Can you touch base on that? So
a 360 feedback is one of the many assessments that we can take to find out more about ourselves and what our strengths are. So a 360 assessments are used in companies and organizations today to try to get feedback, which is a gift. It's very powerful. And 360 suggests it's feedback from all around. So I'm getting from my peers, from my up above, my boss, superiors, my direct reports, maybe my business partners. So 360 feedback, ideally then you're working with a coach that can help you, and it's an outside coach so that they have your best interests in mind, and they can help give you feedback so that you can perhaps change behaviors, and once you receive that feedback, do some analysis of it.
We'll have to have you back so we can talk on that a little bit more.
I'd love to do that.
Well, thank you so much, Marina. I appreciate you joining us.
If I have a moment, could I very quickly give you, this would be a gift from my company because it's one of our mascots, and it's that we think we should work until the work is done, but we can always still have fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks
so much.
Thanks very much, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Up next, Connor Canine.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Career Center. I am now joined by motivational speaker and author Connor Caneen. Connor has written several books on SHIFGAB, which is an acronym that stands for 8 Building Blocks to a Successful Job Search. Connor, I know over the last several months we've talked about the different acronyms or letters within that acronym. So can we do a recap and then we'll start talking about the letter G today?
Yeah, happy to. SHIFGAB, 8 letters. SHEIFGAB, and each of them is a building block to staying sane, motivated and productive in job search. S is for structure. Job seekers need structure and they lose structure, a lot of them, as soon as they go into the job search. H is for help. If you help other people, you'll get a payback and it'll make you feel better about yourself when you hear 2 of the most important words in the English language, which are thank you. E is about environment. Change your environment, shake it up a little bit and don't just be stuck at home all of the time. I is about improving yourself, and if you can improve yourself during job search, which you can, and you can show that to the interviewer, you have a much better chance of getting that position. And then F is about family and friends, and the key thing there is to make sure that you don't impinge too much in the family when you're in job search, and don't be taking up too much of their space. Get a communication going with them and with friends, and make sure the friends know that you're in job search, and don't hide behind the bushel when it comes to the job search process.
Great. So thanks for that recap. So let's talk about G, which is goals. And you talk a lot about SHAG. Can you tell me about that?
Right. The basic idea is that when you achieve a goal, Kim, how do you feel?
Feel good.
Feel good,
Feel really good about it.
And what I'm trying to do with the SHIFGAB concept is to get job seekers to feel good about themselves. So I'm saying to themselves, all right, if you can achieve goals, you're going to feel better about yourself. And Jim Collins, the author, spoke about BHAGs, which is big, hairy, audacious goals. What I talk about is SHAGs, S-H-A-G, which is small, highly achievable goals. And if the job seeker can reframe some of the things they do during the day as goals, when they achieve that goal, they're going to feel better about themselves. And when they feel better about themselves, they can go after another small, highly achievable goal. And then they're going to be able to walk into that interview 12 foot tall and bulletproof.
Yeah, because I think initially they speak about, you know, I want to land that job. But there's some steps you have to do beforehand. So that's why you have those small goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to get to the top of the mountain, it's a long, slow, hard trek, and it's one foot in front of the other. But you got to keep doing it. And in the job search process, as you know, it can be terribly demotivating and demoralizing. But if you can set yourself goals during the day, achieve those goals, and then appreciate that you have achieved the goal, you're going to feel so much better.
So give me an example of a goal. You know, if someone recently laid off.
Right, well, I'll give a couple of really simple examples. What I say to the job seekers is to reframe what you're doing as a goal. So simple little things like, we're in the winter season right now, but let's say when we were in when we go back into spring again, you're going to have to start cutting the grass, all right, and mowing the grass. My basic view is that structure, I put into your calendar that on Monday at 4 p.m. and on Thursday at 4 p.m. my goal is to be out mowing the lawn. Now you might think that's so simple. It is simple, but when you have set that goal and when you crank up the lawnmower and you're pushing the lawnmower, you've started achieving a goal. You know you're doing something that you said you would do, and when you finish doing it, you're going to feel better about yourself. It's something you have to do, but if you just reframe it as a goal.
So your goal doesn't have to be related to a job search.
It doesn't have to be related to a job search at all. And then in the job search, well, what I say is that set yourself small, highly achievable goals. So most job seekers, when they start off, they're saying, I'm going to make 20 phone calls a day and 17 networking connections. It doesn't happen after 2 weeks, or even after 1 week. So set yourself a small, highly achievable goal. Today, I will make 2 phone calls. Today, or this week, I will make 2 new networking connections. If you set that goal and if you achieve it, you're going to feel way better than the person who said, I'll do 20 phone calls and they do 10. They feel as if they haven't made it happen. Job search, as we've spoken about previously, is a mind game. And goals and achieving of goals can actually make you feel so much better.
Okay, so in this section, you also talk about the virtuous circle. goal, achieve, feel better. Goal, achieve,
Yeah,
feel better.
yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
That
You do it?
basically
Yeah.
is it. There's so many small things and big things that knock the job seeker off their momentum. So with the Sheaf Gap concept, what I try and do is provide just small little concepts through either changing the environment or setting yourself a target to improve yourself. So another simple example would be for a goal would be that my goal is to get out of the house and go to the Community Career Centre.
Which is what you recommend. You need to get out of the house at some point.
Yeah, and my goal is that I put into my calendar, I will be at the Community Career Centre at 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. When you're walking into the Community Career Centre at 10 o'clock, because you said you would do, you're going to feel just marginally better about yourself. But if you can get a lot of margin, you're going to, it's going to make a real difference at the end. Say that you're going to leave the community centre at 12:30 as you're walking out of the community centre where you've been productive because you're in an environment where you can be productive, you're going to feel so much better about yourself.
And in your
again.
book, you actually say when you say you're going to start at this time, you start at this time. When you say you're going to end, you end.
Yeah.
You focus on
You
that.
try and focus on that. And that goes back to structure. When you were working in a corporate environment, you had meetings starting on time, meetings finishing on time. Well, some of the time. But that was the theory behind it. But the other thing about goals, I think, is that I think we've also spoken about it previously. You can't do it on your own. Try and get some agreement with other job seekers about what goals you want to achieve this week and get them to agree the goals they want to achieve and work together to encourage, prompt, improve each other.
Right. One of the other things you talk about in this section is nag, nag, nag.
Yeah.
Which is joining, and you talk about joining a group. So that
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's about an accountability group, or maybe you can just call it a network accountability group. I know NAG is a negative term a lot of the time, obviously, but here I use, we spoke before we came on air, I do use a lot of acronyms, but it's to keep it simple. And if you can set yourself up a network accountability group, where there's other people in that group, and one of the goals is we will meet at, let's say, Panera, Starbucks, or somewhere else at 10 o'clock. And part of that commitment is that we meet at 10 o'clock, not someone rambling in at 10 past 10 or 20 past 10. And if you say you're going to be there for 75 minutes, when you're leaving after 75 minutes, having set yourself an agenda for the meeting, another goal, small, highly achievable goal, you achieve that agenda, you're going to be walking out feeling better about yourself.
Yeah, very good. And then just to wrap up, you talk about the 10 commandments of networking in this section as well.
Right, yeah.
Do you want to elaborate on a few of those?
Well, I think the first and most basic one is, and the most important rule for anyone in networking, is to arrive before the event starts. Because what happens to a lot of people are obviously introvert. And when you're in job search, being an introvert is a bit of a negative.
It's tough, yeah.
So you go into a networking meeting and it's already 20 minutes in state, you're going to a wall of people. If you go to that networking meeting 10 minutes before it's due to start, there's only going to be 2 other people there, and you really have to start talking to other people. And it'll make a really big difference to how you're able to be productive at a networking meeting.
And then what's another one of your 10
I think one of the other ones that can make a real difference to you is ask someone, how can I help you? Don't just be spewing out how wonderful a person I am and what I'm looking for. You'd be surprised. I mean, you're probably the same situation. I'm surprised when someone says to me, well, Conor, thanks very much. How can I help you? And it's normally kind of, that was great advice. See ya. But if they say, how can I help you? You get much more connected with them. It's a question every networker should ask.
Right. Well, great. Well, Conor, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. As always, next month we will talk about the letter A.
A for attitude.
A for attitude.
All right. And anyone who wants to get going in job search, they get a great attitude from everyone at the Community Career Centre.
Thank you, Conor. I appreciate that. And up next, Becky Brillon from the Community Career Centre.
Good things happen at the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Experience more than 25,000 acres where native plants and animals make their home. Discover the scenic beauty of over 60 forest preserves containing forests, prairies, and wetlands. Explore the wonder of changing seasons along 145 miles of trails. Get outside and discover the good things that happen when you visit DuPage Forest Preserves. The Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, where good things happen.
Welcome back. I am always happy to have join me Becky Brillon, CCC's Program Director. Becky, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Becky, today I thought we would talk about intentional networking. Can you define what that is, and then we'll give some tips on that?
My definition of intentional networking is going about networking with a purpose, a clear goal in mind for each interaction, when it's a large group or if it's a planned informational meeting, or if it's going about your day trying to figure out who you can connect with that would have information about a job that very well might be a hidden job market. A lot of the postings, they're saying something now these days, are 80% of the postings are never put on a job board. And for a lot of the positions that are on job boards, they've already got somebody in mind. It's a formality or a policy that requires them to post a position. So the positions that you see, if you're being a reactive job seeker, just applying to positions online, that might be why you don't hear back.
Right. So just a minute ago, I was talking to Connor, and one of the things he mentioned was arriving early. So that's being intentional. What would you say to that?
Yeah, even before the event, deciding which events to attend, knowing a little bit about the group, the mix, knowing who might be there. Know a little bit about the presenters when you're going to a session that includes a topic. Know something about the facilitator of the group. Those sorts of things. And really, too, even when you're making that decision about which groups to attend or where to go about your network, start at home. Literally start at home. Who lives on the other side of you? Who lives across the street? Who do you see at Sesame Street song? Who do you know in your neighborhood?
Right.
Find that out, because if these people are already within your network, and you're doing a lot of work on LinkedIn, and don't get me wrong, LinkedIn is great and necessary in a job search, but we overlook the simple stuff a lot of times. Connor said, keep it simple. Sometimes you just have to think about, who do I already talk to every day?
And when you say neighborhood, it's not just right next door, but you're talking the grocer, when you go to the grocery store,
anybody
or to the
that,
salon.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody that you pay for services or product has a vested interest in your success of job search.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have success, you're not going to be
able to help
spending
them
as much money.
Right.
And over and over we see your mail person, the person who delivers your mail, and the person who styles your hair, cuts your hair, your spouse's hair, your kid's hair, they know everybody. I mean, we did that at the center. We've, after, 2 years of seeing the same mail person come through, we finally said, what is your name?
Right.
And Nina's the most awesome mail person there is.
Right.
And she stops in for a cup of coffee, we talk. We've learned a lot from Nina.
Intentional networking.
Yeah.
So you've arrived at the event.
Arrive at the event.
And now what?
Well, it's not just about who can collect the most cards. You want to...
Quality versus quantity.
Quality versus quantity. And make sure that you know how you're going to introduce yourself and be useful to people. Like Connor said too, you need to have that question of, how can I help you?
Right.
People will remember people who help them. And if you don't have something right now for yourself, chances are good you know somebody who could use the lead that you're not going to follow up on too. You just have to know. Right.
So you're there, you're passing out business cards, or you're collecting business cards. What do you do with that business card to make sure you remember that person? Because I have my own little secret thing that I do. But
secret.
Yeah, secret. Yeah.
Next edition.
Yeah.
But you have to do something with that. You can't just leave it laying. You need to you have to be organized somehow. If it's a spreadsheet, if it's just holding on to the business cards, if it's one of those neat scanners, whatever it is, and you have to put it in your to-do list. You have to put it on your planner to actually follow up. So you attend the networking event, the next morning you spend an hour to 2 hours following up. Because if you don't, then what was
I know one of the things I do is when I get a business card, I try to put at least 3 things down about that person, so it'll help me remember. Like, the person likes sushi or whatever it is. So then I can remember, they have 2 kids or whatever, it is, to make sure you remember them. Yeah.
And you always think you're going to remember where you met.
Right, but you never know.
You don't.
Right. What about when you're talking, you're asking questions? What's kind of the rule of thumb not to you don't want to dominate the conversation, but you want to ask, how personal do you get?
Yeah, you need to, I mean, it can be different when we're talking about people that you've known for a long time, like the neighbors and people in your neighborhood. Those, you kind of read the relationship and how well you are, what you already know about the person. It's okay to ask them, you know, how is this going? Something about their kids or something about their parents, maybe. It's okay to be a part of that connection. If you're at a networking event, you're meeting for somebody for the first time, you kind of stay away from those areas, politics, kids, their views on concealed carry, things like that. Just kind of stay away from those topics.
So when you're talking intentional networking and you're trying to decide what to talk about, it's really important to have your pitch together, your 90-second, 30-second, you know, pitch together when you're doing this.
Sure. And, you know, more and more there's a trend to stop asking people, what do you do for a living? Ask them, so how do you spend your time? What do you do all day? It's other ways of, and especially in a job search circle and networking groups, that is pure courtesy to just give people that recognition of it's not always just about work.
What you do.
Yeah. We're more than just what we do 9 to 5.
I think one of the big things is you have a lot of people who are in a job search who are introverts. How do you, or what's your thoughts on just encouraging people or giving people tips on how to break out of that comfort zone if they don't feel like getting out there in front of people and putting themselves out there and telling the neighbor that I'm looking?
As an introvert living in an extroverted world myself, I can tell you, you zero in when you walk into the room and you see this group of people and you start to freak out a little bit. You zero in on one friendly person that seems to be just nice, and you approach them and you might even make a joke about being, hi, I'm an introvert, can I talk to you? It loosens up the situation. Maybe not go for the person who is like the shark in the room right away. Work your way up to there. But the thing is, it's just to do it. You have to go outside your comfort zone.
That's why it's important to arrive early, kind of prep yourself for that.
Get a feel for the layout of the room. Find a place where you are comfortable. Everything that you can control, good. Things you can't control, it won't be horrible.
There's a thing where I hear, you know, do you place your name tag on the right side or the left side? When you're talking about intentional networking, if you're shaking hands, where should that be? On the right side?
Right on your forehead. There is a thing about when people reach with to shake hands. If they're right-handed and the name tag's on their right, they cover up their name tag. But what do? You just don't shake hands with lefties? I don't know. It's out there. I think it's how you feel comfortable wearing your name tag will work.
All right. Well, great. Thank you, Becky. Now, before we wrap up, what's coming up at the center? We have LinkedIn workshops.
There are tons of things going on at the center in February. We're going to try to get Federal Job App back on the calendar because a lot of people are asking. We're going to have the Moms Networking Group continuing, a special edition because I have something planned for the group. Our job club every Wednesday and the accountability group every Monday.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank Maureen Keene, Connor Canine, and Becky Brillon for being a part of this month's edition of Career Center. If you are unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, please visit us at the Community Career Center, 1815 West Steel Road, Suite 900 in Naperville. Thanks for watching.